Hi, my name is Rachel Lewis, and in the next 3 minutes, I will reveal to you a shocking underground secret, desperately hidden by the pharmaceutical giants, to dramatic and almost instant improvements in your brain health, allowing you to prevent, treat, and even reverse the most devastating symptoms for neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia. This controversial technique, developed by a 98-year-old retired neurologist living in the mountains of Alaska, is supported by numerous peer-reviewed medical studies and has been scientifically proven to dramatically increase cognitive health and boost memory, focus, and concentration. And the most incredible thing is, you can get started today from the comfort of your own home and start seeing and feeling the benefits of this breakthrough technique within weeks or perhaps even days. And you can do it all without the need for any expensive drugs, without having to suffer any nasty side effects, and without having to spend a single cent if you don't want to. And I'll be revealing exactly what I mean by that in just a moment. This little-known technique, which fires up dying neurons and restores your brain's communication network, is already sweeping the nation and is currently being used by 23,167 people and counting, with incredible success stories being reported every day. And what's more, this bizarre trick has been proven to work even if you've been experiencing a decline in your mental acuity for just a few months or for many decades, and whether you're 50, 70, or even 90 years old. But sadly, this success also has a downside. You see, the pharmaceutical companies behind the leading dementia drugs are currently trying to shut this site down to protect their multi-billion-dollar cash cow, despite the fact that their drugs consistently fail to cure people of these devastating illnesses. So listen up, because this is important. If you or a loved one have been experiencing the early symptoms of cognitive decline, such as forgetting people's names, where you put things, conversations you've had, or personality changes, if you have a history of dementia or Alzheimer's in your family and are desperate to avoid the same fate befalling you, or you simply want a proven way to maintain and even boost your brain health so you can enjoy the rest of your life in peak condition without having to worry about becoming a burden to your family, then I suggest you turn off your cell phone, get comfortable, and be sure to watch every single second of this presentation, because I promise you, this could turn out to be the most important few minutes of your life. But before I reveal this controversial secret, first I'd like you to do something. I'd like you to imagine what it would feel like to have the memory, focus, and concentration of a 20-year-old. To be alert, sharp, and able to enjoy total clarity of thought. To never again be embarrassed in a social situation because you can't remember someone's name, or mocked by your own family because of your forgetfulness. To no longer experience any senior moments or confusion. To never again find yourself standing at the top of the stairs scratching your head, unsure about why you went up there. And to no longer have to worry about becoming a burden to your family, putting them through the emotional torture of having a mom, dad, wife, or husband that still needs to be cared for, but for all intents and purposes, left this world long ago. Believe me, I'm saying this to scare you. According to recent figures, Alzheimer's alone already afflicts more than 5.4 million Americans, and every second, another U.S. citizen develops the disease. Plus, with everyone now living longer, Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia are expected to increase rapidly over the next few years. Alzheimer's, for example, is projected to increase from 21 million to a whopping 53 million by 2050. And there's a high chance you could become part of that statistic if you don't do anything to stop it. And that's exactly why I'm here talking to you today. Because having experienced the devastating effects of dementia firsthand in the shape of my own father, the last thing I want is for you or any of your loved ones to have to suffer in the same way. Which is why, with the help of an off-the-grid former doctor of neurology, I've ensured that you don't have to by developing a breakthrough program scientifically proven to treat the root cause of devastating brain diseases, such as Alzheimer's, allowing you to enjoy the mental acuity that you had in your 20s and take back control of your own mind. And in just a few minutes from now, you're going to discover exactly how this little-known secret works. A scientific breakthrough in the field of neurology that has already helped over 23,000 people boost their memory beyond all expectation and improve mental clarity, focus, and concentration, allowing them to live life to the full once again. One of these people was Malcolm Bridcut from Ohio, who left me this heartwarming email. Dear Dr. Edstrom and Rachel Lewis, when I first heard about your supposed cure for dementia, I was incredibly skeptical. I thought that if anything like that actually existed, I would have seen it on the news or read about it in magazines. But as soon as I saw the scientific research behind the program, I decided to give it a shot. My grandfather was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 9 years ago, and he's been on a steady decline ever since. But after just 3 weeks of your program, the change has been absolutely amazing. He's sharper, more alert, and no longer repeats himself, which he used to do dozens of times each day. And if I tell him something important, he'll remember it days and even weeks later, when before he'd forget things in minutes. This is a truly incredible program, and honestly, I can't thank you enough. Malcolm. And then there's Ian Garvin from New York who wrote, the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life was seeing the woman I love disappear in front of my eyes. From a happy-go-lucky, bright and beautiful person who loved her family dearly, my wife reached the point where she couldn't even remember the names of her own children and would look startled and confused when any of them would enter the room. After numerous failed and frustrating drug treatments, I'd pretty much given up all hope. But after just 14 days of using your program, everything changed. It was like a switch had been flicked back on. My wife's personality returned. She knew all our children's names and started quoting our favorite TV shows again. I literally wanted to cry. I finally got my beautiful, amazing wife back. I honestly wouldn't have thought this level of recovery would be possible if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. Ian Garvin. And Graham McSheffrey from Illinois, who left me this message. Dear Rachel and Dr. Edstrom, my doctor diagnosed early onset Alzheimer's 5 months ago, after my family became worried about my behavior. I knew I was in trouble, but I couldn't admit it to myself. I was terrified of losing my memory, not being able to recognize my own wife, losing my independence, and becoming an old man staring at the wall in some retirement home because I'd become such a nuisance. My wife saw your program on the internet and told me about it. I figured I had nothing to lose, so I gave it a try. I never believed that the results could be so dramatic. All of my symptoms, the forgetfulness, the confusion, and the brain fog have pretty much disappeared. I feel back to my old self, and my family have been amazed at the transformation. I honestly can't thank you guys enough. Graham. Truth is, those are just a few of the many success stories that I receive every week from people just like you who decided to try the program that I'll soon be sharing with you. But before I do, I bet you're wondering who I am and how I came to meet that retired doctor of neurology who made this program possible. Well, as I mentioned before, my name is Rachel Lewis. I'm 31 years old, and I live in a small town called Franklin in New Jersey. Up until 4 years ago, I knew nothing about Alzheimer's, or any other neurological disease for that matter. And even though my father was displaying all of the major symptoms, like continually forgetting where he put things, repeating the same stories again and again, forgetting people's names and important dates like birthdays and anniversaries, myself and my mother never really worried too much. We just laughed at Dad, made a joke of his forgetfulness, and put it down to old age. But in the spring of 2011, everything changed. The date, to be exact, was April 14th, and I remember it clearly because it was my wedding day. I was getting married to Bradley, the love of my life, and my father couldn't wait to walk me down the aisle, something he'd been looking forward to since I was a little girl. The day came and Dad had his speech all prepared and printed out on a piece of paper, which he'd been working on for months. The ceremony was beautiful, and after the vows had been exchanged and all the photos had been taken, we sat down for the speeches. Suddenly, my dad looked panicked, and he started checking every pocket on his suit. Left front pocket, not there. Right pocket, not there. Inside pockets, trousers, shirt, not there either. He'd lost his speech, and there was no time to look for it. The look of horror on his face would have been funny if not for what happened next. My dad stood up, with 130 people staring back at him in anticipation. He looked like a deer caught in the headlights. Sheer panic etched across his face. He was forced to improvise, and under pressure, panic-stricken, and with no notes to fall back on, my dad forgot my name. He literally couldn't remember my name. Desperately clawing at the recesses of his mind, trying to recall his youngest daughter's name, he plucked one out of the air. Except it was my elder sister's, Sylvia. Completely oblivious to his mistake, and with me and my mother unsure about whether he was joking or not, Dad carried on. Sylvia and Bradley, he continued, until my mom was forced to jump up and whisper in his ear that my name was Rachel. Now even more flustered and panicked, Dad became more and more confused, mixing up events that happened to me and with those that had happened to my sister and even my mom. It was like seeing a horrible car crash across the other side of the freeway. You feel terrible for the victim, but you can't help but keep looking. Eventually, my dad's speech reached its agonizing conclusion when he signed off by wishing Sylvia and Bradley a lifetime of happiness. Everyone sat there, not knowing whether to clap, laugh, or stay silent. It was embarrassing and humiliating for my dad, and one of the most special days of his life had been ruined. The day after the wedding, we booked an appointment with a neurologist, and a couple of weeks later we got the results, which, given what had happened, weren't entirely surprising. My dad had stage 2 Alzheimer's. For the next 3 years, my father and his entire family battled against the disease, trying drug after drug and going from doctor to doctor, who all said the condition was irreversible, and there was nothing they could do except try to slow down his deterioration. So we watched in horror as the disease slowly but surely took my father from us, piece by piece, until the man we all knew and loved had all but disappeared. My dad had been my hero since I was a little girl, and seeing him fade away in front of my eyes was the hardest thing I'd ever had to deal with. But then, when all hope seemed lost, something incredible happened. A discovery that would eventually set my father on the road to recovery. My mom found Dad's wedding speech. It might not seem like much, but as it turned out, it was a massive turning point. That morning, I sat down to read it. It was the most beautiful and heartfelt speech I'd ever read in my entire life. I sat there crying, not just because it meant so much to me to finally read it, but that Dad had never been able to deliver it on my wedding day. And this was the moment that would ultimately lead to Dad's recovery. Reading that speech lit a fire inside me and created a determination in me that I have never had before or since. I knew that somewhere out there had to be an alternative to the traditional drug treatments that had so far failed to produce any noticeable results in my dad's condition, and yet had created a range of horrible side effects, such as vomiting, stomach cramps, headaches, dizziness, and insomnia, which was agonizing to watch. I scoured the internet, spoke to doctors, neurologists, alternative therapists, Chinese herb doctors, basically anyone that I thought might be able to help or know someone who could. After a few months of fruitless searching and having all but given up hope, I was scouring the internet as I did every night when I came across an old online article from a local Alaskan newspaper. According to the article, which was now over 18 years old, there was a tiny little town in the mountains of Alaska which had no recorded cases of Alzheimer's or dementia. None. Totally zero. I thought that there had to be something in this. It couldn't just be coincidence. So a couple of weeks later, I booked some time off work and made the 7.5-hour flight to Alaska. After speaking to anyone I could find and visiting the local doctor's surgery, I discovered the one thing that the entire town had in common. They'd all had the same doctor. The woman on reception at the doctor's surgery told me that up until 30 years ago, the town's doctor had been a former consultant in neurology who went by the name of Dr. Edstrom. The whole town knew him well and had heard tales about his bizarre and controversial methods. But being long retired and almost 100 years old, nobody saw him very much. "Do you know where he lives?" I asked. "Sure, he used to live in the cottage up the mountain, and I assume he still does. His methods are a little out there," she said, "but he gets results." And with that, she gave me a smile and a wink. That sounded good enough for me. After all, I had absolutely nothing to lose, and neither did my dad. So after getting in touch with Dr. Edstrom, I made the short trek to his little cottage in the mountains. But I couldn't help but wonder, would this 98-year-old man even be able to help me? I mean, would he still have all his faculties at that age? With this in mind, I was half expecting to meet a slow, confused old man when I trudged up the snowy pathway toward his quaint little cottage. But instead, as we sat there chatting about his life, his work in the medical field, and my father's deteriorating health, I was immediately struck by how sharp, alert, and attentive Dr. Edstrom was. And he had a razor-sharp sense of humor, too. If it wasn't for the fact that he looked so frail, I could have sworn I was talking to someone who was 28, not 98. Over the next 5 hours, Dr. Edstrom talked me through his 5 decades of research into neurological diseases and his experience treating thousands of patients with varying degrees of dementia. He explained that many years ago, back in the 1980s, he'd discovered that the most effective treatment for Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia wasn't drugs, but simple exercises. Brain-tricking exercises, he called them, that could be performed in just a few minutes a day and from the comfort of a person's home. But when he presented his findings to the medical community, he was denied the funding to perform clinical trials on patients. And soon after, drug treatments started to spring up from the major pharmaceutical companies, who ensured that his research was not only buried, but ridiculed in the medical community, ruining Dr. Edstrom's reputation among his peers. He then handed me an old folder, which contained each of his most powerful and effective 24 brain training techniques, which he'd personally developed and tested over almost half a century, and still used to this day to keep his mind sharp and active. Each exercise, he said, only needed a few minutes a day, and if used consistently, had the potential to tackle even the worst cases of Alzheimer's and dementia. I was naturally skeptical about everything I'd heard, but having seen Dr. Edstrom with my own eyes and witnessed for myself just how sharp and alert he was, I decided to look into his theories a little more. Almost immediately, I found a study in the Journal of the American Medical Association from February 2002, reporting that more frequent participation in cognitively stimulating activities is associated with a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. In fact, the study, which comprised more than 700 people, concluded that the risk was reduced by an incredible 47%. I then found another study, which looked into whether brain training techniques could improve cognitive function. The study, which took place at the Tohoku University in Japan, was presented at the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference in March 2012, tracked 32 patients with Alzheimer's. Amazingly, 100% of the patients who took part in the study showed improvements in their cognitive function. Yet when my family were desperately searching for help in treating my father, not a single doctor pointed us toward any of this research. I couldn't believe it. But my findings didn't stop there. I discovered more trials proving that simple brain training exercises could successfully treat Alzheimer's and dementia. The results of a trial reported in the August 2011 edition of the Journal of Neurosurgery concluded that memory training unlocks brain plasticity in Alzheimer's disease. The report went on to say that memory training in patients with mild cognitive impairment can not only activate hypoactive brain regions, but can also recruit new areas of the brain to help with memory function. And then I found a groundbreaking 2014 study of 2,832 seniors carried out by the National Institutes of Health, which concluded that memory training and simple mental exercises not only improved cognitive function in the months after the training, but continued to show long-lasting improvements 10 years later. That was incredible, and it backed up everything that Dr. Edstrom had been saying decades before. So with nothing left to lose, I decided to give it a shot and test out some of Dr. Edstrom's brain training techniques on my own father. After 11 days, there was no noticeable improvement in his condition, but Edstrom told me not to give up, that it could take some time. But then, on day 21, I came home from work to find my mother in tears. I asked her what was wrong, and she explained that my dad had brought her a birthday card. He'd remembered her birthday for the first time in 5 years. From this point on, the improvement in my dad was remarkable. With every day that passed, he became more alert, more tuned in to what was going on around him. His short-term memory was getting better and better, and he began to talk about things that he'd previously forgotten. Slowly but surely, my dad was literally coming back to life. I was amazed and called Dr. Edstrom right away, thanking him for everything he'd done, but at the same time feeling angry that this research, which could have helped millions of people, had been ignored for more than 30 years. "We must get these techniques out there," I said. "People need to know about this." Dr. Edstrom explained that he'd always wanted to publicize his work, but he was afraid that no one would take him seriously, which was understandable considering what had happened to him in the past. But being 98 years old, and with time running out, he agreed that there was no longer any reason to keep them to himself. So with Dr. Edstrom's help, I collated all of his techniques, all of his breakthrough research and findings into one simple step-by-step program that anyone could follow. We called it the Brain Revitalizer program, and it's the only program you'll ever need to boost your mental acuity, improve your memory, and give you back total control over your own mind. No more expensive and useless drug treatments. No more horrible side effects. No more doctors or specialists telling you that there's nothing they can do to help, except fill your body with more toxic chemicals, which conveniently make Big Pharma even richer. And no more fear about losing your mind and becoming a burden to your family. Just proven training techniques backed by the latest scientific research that are currently being used with dramatic success by thousands of people all over America. People just like Harrison Bell from Fort Worth, Texas, who emailed me to say, "Thank you so much. The results I've seen with your program have been nothing short of a miracle. Only 2 months ago, my own mother didn't even recognize me. She didn't remember anything I told her and would just sit there in front of the TV all day long, looking lost and confused. Since using your techniques every day, the change I've seen in her has been remarkable. She's more and more like her old self, and I honestly can't thank you enough." And then there's Mary Utuhu from Boulder, Colorado, who left me this message. "Hi, Rachel and Dr. Edstrom. This is just a quick message to say thank you and God bless. You deserve a statue in your honor for what you've done. My grandmother is 78 years old and was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 3 years ago. She's the most special woman in the world to me, so seeing her look so confused and frustrated all the time was horrible to watch. We have been using your techniques for just 4 weeks, and I can already see a huge difference. My grandmother is so much more alert, and her memory is improving every day. I have already passed your program around my friends and family. I hope you don't mind. Mary." And Neil Delaney from Baltimore, Michigan, who sent this email. "Dear Rachel, having heard Dr. Edstrom's story, I can honestly say that I'm not at all surprised. I've been through 8 different doctors trying to help my wife, and every single one of them has dismissed the notion of mental exercises and brain training. All they ever wanted to do was put her on more and more drugs, which did absolutely nothing except make my wife physically ill. It's as if they're in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, and all they care about is shifting their expensive drugs. I'm so thankful to you for having the courage to get this program out to the people. The results I've seen have been way beyond my wildest dreams. I have my wife back, and I literally couldn't be happier. Neil Delaney." So what exactly will you receive in Dr. Edstrom's Brain Revitalizer program? Well, first of all, I'm going to send you the Brain Revitalizer Guide. This step-by-step and easy-to-follow guide will be the core part of your brain training. You'll not only be given Dr. Edstrom's 24 most powerful and effective brain training techniques and tricks for boosting mental acuity and memory, you'll also be given a special 21-day protocol to follow in order to give you the best possible chance of achieving results you could only have dreamt of. All of the techniques are easy to do and simple to follow. All you need to do is complete the worksheets from a worksheet pack for each exercise and make your way through the exercises in the order they're laid out in the protocol. It really is that simple. The second part of the program is called memory-killing medicines. Did you know that medications are actually the prime culprits in mental decline? They're toxic to your cognitive health. Yet drugs constitute 99% of the medical establishment's treatment plan for dementia. The problem is, when you age, your liver becomes less and less efficient at metabolizing the drugs in your system. Your kidneys are subsequently unable to eliminate them from your body at the required speed, and damaging toxins build up in your bloodstream and eventually your brain cells. In the Memory-Killing Medicines Guide, we list the frightening number of everyday drugs proven to impair cognitive function and cause dementia-like symptoms, as well as the alternative, all-natural treatments you can use instead. Believe me, you'll be shocked at just how common some of these medications actually are. But that's not all you'll be getting. You'll also receive the Meditation Mastery Guide. A recent study from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, Massachusetts, reports that meditation can help preserve your mind and slow the progression of dementia and Alzheimer's. The results showed that the group who performed meditation and yoga at least 2 hours per week had less atrophy in the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory forming, storage, and retrieval, as well as better brain connectivity than the control group. In Meditation Mastery, you'll discover 15 powerful meditation techniques for relieving stress and minimizing the buildup of the stress hormone cortisol, which is scientifically proven to increase the risk of developing dementia. So as you can see, the Brain Revitalizer program contains everything you need to boost your mental acuity, improve your memory, and maximize cognitive health for many years to come. And you can start using these proven techniques in just a few minutes from now. So the next question you're probably asking is this: how much is the Brain Revitalizer program? Well, considering the program contains decades of research from a former neurologist and is crammed full of proven techniques backed by countless peer-reviewed journals that have already helped over 23,000 people to dramatically improve their memory and mental acuity, I think you'd agree that it's worth a lot of money. After all, just think how much money you're currently spending on medication. Or if you're not at that point yet, how much money you soon will be spending on medication when the inevitable happens, which it will if you don't do anything about it now. It's thousands of dollars a year easy. So I think $1,000 for a lifetime of proven and scientifically backed brain training techniques is more than fair. But here's the thing. I'm not doing this to make money. And making a profit is the last thing on Dr. Edstrom's mind. He just wants to get these techniques out there so he can finally help the people who need these techniques the most, but have so far been failed by the medical establishment who insist on pumping their patients full of drugs. So I'm not going to ask you to pay anywhere near $1,000 for this, even though the value of this program far exceeds that figure. In fact, I'm not going to ask you to pay $500, or even $100 for that matter, because all I'm really trying to do here is cover my costs so I can keep this website running and be in a position to help as many people as possible. Which is why if you act now, today on this very page, I will hand you the Brain Revitalizer program for just $37. Hit Add to Cart below to accept this introductory pricing and get immediate access to the Brain Revitalizer program. And if all that's not enough, I'm going to sweeten the deal even further by giving you a full 60 days to try out the program completely risk-free. This 60-day money-back guarantee means you can put all of Dr. Erdstrom's most powerful brain training techniques to the test in your own time and in the comfort of your own home. Complete the worksheets, follow the protocol laid out for you, and if you're not 100% satisfied for any reason whatsoever, just send me an email and I will refund every single cent of your investment right away and with no questions asked. That's a whole 2 months of test driving the entire Brain Revitalizer program with absolutely no risk whatsoever. The risk is entirely on our side. The fact that we are willing to offer you this risk-free offer proves to you just how confident Dr. Edstrom and I are in the effectiveness and power of this science-backed program. To get started right this second, hit Add to Cart below. Your order will be fully protected by our 60-day risk-free satisfaction guarantee. But wait, as you are still here, before you place your order, I want to send you 2 special bonuses absolutely free. The first, named Brain Damaging Dangers, is a special guide packed full of all the things you need to avoid if you want to protect yours and your family's cognitive health for many years to come. This special guide, produced by Dr. Edstrom himself, includes 21 of the most dangerous yet frequently eaten foods, the 17 surprising everyday habits known to destroy cognitive health, and much more. And as well as that, I'm going to send you something that will take your brain power to another level entirely. In fact, you won't just be able to control your own mind with the Brain Revitalizer program, but other people's too, thanks to the Mind Control Bible. This hugely powerful and controversial resource will teach you proven tricks for influencing other people's behavior and decisions and prevent you from being manipulated or coerced by others ever again. It will take no more than a few days to learn every single one of these powerful mind control secrets, which will allow you to get exactly what you want from any negotiation. So what are you waiting for? All you need to do now is hit Add to Cart below. And for a small one-time only investment, you can have all of the following in just a few seconds from now: the Brain Revitalizer Guide, plus 21-day protocol and full exercise worksheets, memory-killing medicines, the Meditation Mastery Guide. Plus, you get your 2 special bonuses: Brain-Damaging Dangers and the Mind Control Bible, absolutely free. And remember, your investment is fully protected by my 60-day money-back guarantee, which means there's absolutely no risk at all. So what reason is there to say no? Whether you're in your 30s and you simply want to keep your mind sharp and focused for as long as possible, or you're in your 60s or 70s and want the chance to regain the mental acuity and memory that you used to enjoy, the Brain Revitalizer program has everything you need to do it. It's backed by solid science. It's easy to follow, and everything is explained step by step with no technical talk. Best of all, it's backed by real-world successes, such as we heard earlier. And all you have to do is hit the Add to Cart button below, complete your order, and you'll be immediately redirected to our special members-only area, where you will be able to download the entire program straight from your computer, smartphone, or tablet. So right now, it's decision time. But before you make that decision, let me ask you a few quick questions. Do you really want to carry on doing what you're doing, which in all likelihood is either nothing at all, or even worse, handing over more of your money to Big Pharma, who are more than happy to pump you full of expensive and toxic medication that hasn't worked, and frankly never will? Do you really want to walk away from these proven techniques and run the risk that your mental decline will accelerate further until you reach the point where you forget your own child's name? A humiliating experience that happened to my own father on what should have been the happiest day of his life, and mine. And do you really want to live out your days as a burden to your family, which could last 10, 20 years or more, where you are unable to take part in normal conversations, and you're constantly feeling lost, frustrated, and confused? Is any of that really an option, when the solution is right here waiting for you? Personally, I think you deserve better than that, and so does your family. They deserve a bright, alert, and healthy mom, dad, granddad, grandma, wife, or husband who's going to be there with them in every way possible, loving life for the next 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. Remember, your mind and your memories are what make you who you are. Don't lose that. This is your chance to protect and maintain your cognitive health, and potentially even treat any damage that's already been caused. And you could see dramatic results in a matter of a few weeks or even days. Remember, my own father had all but checked out before he started using Dr. Edstrom's program. And the transformation in his memory, focus, and concentration has been nothing short of a miracle. Today, I have my father back, and I have this program to thank. So for your own sake, and for the sake of your family, go ahead and try out the Brain Revitalizer program, completely risk-free for a full 60 days, and see what it can do for you too. Hit the Add to Cart button below, and I'll see you in the members area. Still here? No problem at all. I totally understand. After all, you're no doubt a little skeptical right now, and that's completely natural. I appreciate that everything you've just heard probably flies in the face of what doctors have been telling you for years, that drugs are the only way to alleviate Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, and that there isn't a cure. So if you're still a little unsure about everything you've just seen and you have a few questions, I've decided to answer some of the most common ones I get asked. Firstly, to help you put your mind at rest, and secondly, to give you all the information you need to make the right decision for both yourself and your family. Okay, so one of the most common questions I get asked is, how long will it take to see results? Well, as I'm sure you can appreciate, every person is different. So one person's mental deterioration may be greater than someone else's, so it may take a little longer to reverse it. So the last thing I want to do is give you an exact number of days or weeks, because I don't want to mislead you in any way. But in my own father's case, it only took 21 days before we started seeing dramatic improvements in his memory, focus, and concentration using Dr. Edstrom's methods. And as you've seen, my father's Alzheimer's was pretty severe and well established. So whatever stage you're at, you can clearly see that if you commit to this program, practice all of the techniques, and follow the 21-day protocol, then you will give yourself the best possible chance of achieving real and long-term results. Another question I get asked is, will it work for me? Okay, as I just said, each individual is faced with different circumstances and a different level of deterioration, so I can't promise results. However, the fact is, these techniques are scientifically proven to work and have produced incredible improvements in mental agility for over 23,000 people already, so there's a very, very good chance that this program will work for you too, whatever your situation, and however long you've been suffering from Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia for that matter. And that leads me on to another common question I get sent. Do you offer a money-back guarantee? And the answer is, of course, yes, absolutely. I want as many people as possible to benefit from Dr. Edstrom's program. So I'm effectively giving you a free 2-month trial here. So you have absolutely nothing to lose. If you order today, you have a full 60 days to put these techniques to the test in your own time and from the comfort of your own home. And if you don't witness dramatic results in your cognitive health, you don't pay. It's as simple as that. And because I genuinely want to help you, I'm actually going to let you keep the entire program, even if you do ask for your money back. All I ask is that you commit to the program and follow the protocol, because I'm 100% confident that if you do, then the last thing you'll be doing is emailing me for a refund. Instead, you'll be thanking me for transforming your life or the life of your mother, father, grandma, grandpa, or whoever it may be. Another question that people often ask is about the ordering process and whether their details will be secure. And I can absolutely 100% guarantee you that they are, so please don't worry. Our ordering system contains state-of-the-art encryption technology, so when you order with us, your information is completely safe and secure. In fact, you can feel more secure ordering through us than from almost anywhere else on the internet. Finally, I've had a few emails recently from people asking me how long the Brain Revitalizer product will be available for. Maybe because they want to order but didn't have the money at that particular time. And I'll give you the answer that I gave them, which is this. I honestly don't know. The truth is there's been a lot of pressure on us to take this website down. Big Pharma makes billions every year from dementia drugs, and the chances are anything that threatens that income stream won't be around for long. We're fighting the system as best we can, and so far we've resisted, even though we've been threatened with legal action countless times. But sadly, in today's world, big money always wins. So if you want to get access to this program while you still can, I recommend that you do it now before it's too late. So go ahead and hit the Add to Cart button below. Input your details and you'll be taken through to our private members-only area, where you'll be able to access the complete Brain Revitalizer program for a full 60 days, absolutely risk-free. This has been Rachel Lewis, and I look forward to hearing your success stories very soon.